Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. You're probably wondering what's in the box, in the bag, and honestly, so am I. I have no idea. Well, I've got some idea, but opening these is going to be as much of an adventure for me as it is for you. So, I got sent this by 11-Bit Studios, who are the developers of Frostpunk, Frostpunk 2, which needs no introduction, and the alters, which probably does need a bit of an introduction. So I did a video on the demo of the alters a couple of months ago. It's kind of like an exploration, survival, and resource management game, where you're the last survivor of a survey team on an extremely hostile alien planet. We have to try to stay ahead of the sun, otherwise it's going to kook you. But in order to do that, you're going to need more people with other skills to manage your mobile base. And there are no other people, but there is a cloning facility on board the base, which you can use, bear with me here, to create alternate versions of yourself, hence the title of the game, The Alters. Fascinating concept. The idea being that at certain points in your life you made certain decisions which led to who you are. But what if you'd made different decisions? So, say for example, you need a technician to help you repair the base's engines, but you don't have technical skills. So if you could create a version of yourself who left home to go to college rather than staying home to look after a sick mother, for example, then that version of you would have the technical skills that you need. The problem, of course, is that, well, these different versions all have different personalities, and you might not necessarily like each other. There might be a bit of resentment going on there, like I stayed at home to deal with my sick mother and you went off and got an education, and so on and so on. So as well as base management and survival, there's also a lot of personnel management in it. Not sure when the game's coming out, this year apparently, but 11-Bit Studios have sent me some stuff, including, actually, let's take a quick look. What do we have? So there's a card here. We hope you enjoy our little post-apocalyptic sci-fi surprise from the worlds of Frostpunk 2 and the Alters. Yeah. Oh, package includes 2 Frostpunk 2 Deluxe Edition keys. I might have to give one of those away. But there's 2 packages. So this Alters-themed survival package, let's see, provided by Ali Corp, the Alters Project Dolly Essentials. So Project Dolly is the cloning project, named after Dolly, the first cloned animal, the sheep. And, well, let's see what's in it. Confidential, only for authorised staff members. I'm sure it will be fine. How does this open? Okay, I don't have to destroy much of anything in order to get the contents. Oh crap, I've scared cats. Okay, that's the contents. We have, oh sweet, a bunch of stickers. These will probably go in the fridge. Those aren't bad. Project Dolly stickers. They're very, very tough. Yeah, those are probably fridge stickers. So what was making the noise? There was a letter. Oh. Mom's fame. I remember the demo version that we played. You and the first version of yourself that you created didn't get along, and you bonded over your mother's famous pierogi recipe. And this is your mother's famous pierogi recipe. And it's actually from your character's mother. There's a personal note there on the back, so that's a nice little touch. I think Dolly the sheep here was what was making all of the noise. Oh no, there's more. There's more. Something clattered. And we've got an Ally Corp pin. What is this? Okay. It comes gift-wrapped. I have no idea what that is. Anybody who knows what this is and what it's for, I'm sure it's somehow game related, feel free to let me know, because I have absolutely no idea what that is. And this, oh wow, I thought this might be a t-shirt. I thought because I haven't opened this yet, this is it. I thought when I was, like you do on Christmas, you're feeling your presents, try and guess what they are before Christmas Day. I thought, oh, there's a t-shirt in here. I was almost right. Wow. It's clothing, but it's not a t-shirt. It's the jumpsuit jacket that the character you play wears in the game. Ally Corp. Project Dolly. That is really cool. I'll have to try that on later. But it's not the only thing that they sent me. And the clattering noise when this thing drops terrified the cats and they all run out. They also sent me, the box alone is impressive. So this is clearly Frostpunk 2 related. And again, I've got no idea what's in these boxes. I'm going to need something to cut that. I'll be right back. Right, here we go. It's just string. This is fine. Wow. Okay, so Frostpunk 2 looks like the first game, Frostpunk. I did a video series on Frostpunk and it was an astonishingly good game. Resource management survival, kind of similar to the Alters. Actually nothing at all like the Alters. Set in a sort of steampunk future world where the Earth's in an ice age and civilization is freezing to death. So you've got this tin. Look at the weathering on that. It's rusted to hell. Oh! What is that? Well, it's fake snow, frost and ice, obviously, isn't it? But what's actually inside here? Looks like a letter. Gonna have to clean this up afterwards. Oh, this is really cool. So it's actually got a wax seal on it. Oh, wow. It's actually, I'm going to have to get you close up to see it. It's actually to the mighty Jingles. As I write this letter, I feel my strength waning. Throughout the endless hardships we've endured, I have dedicated every ounce of my being to the survival of our city. I've made difficult choices, some fraught with... It's handwritten, so, yeah. Nobody printed this out. This is actually handcrafted, and I'm struggling with the handwriting. Yet always driven by a singular purpose. The city must survive. Do I have any regrets? No, but it's crossed no out. Honestly, there was never any time for them. In these final moments, I entrust the future of a new London to you, Steward. I urge you to carry on our fight. Something the city and its people stand tall against the cold as a testament to our resilience and unity. Remember, above all else, the city must not, and then it sort of tails away as he died, presumably, while writing this message. That was really cool. I feel bad about actually breaking the seal, but it is what it is. Next, we've got... okay, there's a Steam code here. I'm not going to show that, because I did this before when I was doing Classified France 1944. I actually showed the codes off to the camera, which ruined any chance of a giveaway. But there's a Steam code here for Frostpunk 2 on this card, so we'll keep that separate. There's a bunch of Frostpunk 2 stickers here, actually 2 sticker cards, marking things that occur in the game, like when you pass laws and resolutions and stuff, or reject them. Oh wow. Well, let's take a look at the clothing thing. I think this is a scarf. Frontier Foundry always did the best promotional stuff, particularly when they were promoting games like Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Game, Demon Hunters, a game badly in need of an abbreviation. Some of the stuff they sent out for that was astounding. I think 11-bit studios are giving them some serious competition. Yeah, this looks like a scarf. So, the city must not fall. There it is. It rarely gets cold enough down in this part of England for me to actually need a scarf, but hey, I've got a scarf. There's also a little bag. It's got soup written on it. So there's probably some kind of, maybe herbs and spices inside. Let's have a look. Huh. There's also, please note that this is not actual food and shouldn't be eaten. It really is just sawdust. Okay. Yeah, it's probably wise to. Yeah, it's a bag of sawdust. There's something else here, though. What does it say on the other side? For a nutritious meal, simply add water or melt soup and enjoy the New Londoner's favourite sawdust soup. Yeah, you have to make certain tough choices in Frostpunk. You can keep people going on really, really horrible rations like sawdust soup. But it tends to generate a bit of unrest. And now, what the hell is this? Oh, there's more underneath. I think this is actually a copy of the game. It is. This looks like the deluxe edition of Frostpunk 2. That is a really cool box. I don't know how well you can see that. That is very, very nice. Let me whip this open. Well, I'm going to have to play Frostpunk. I mean, I was always planning on playing Frostpunk 2, but there's all kinds of other things that just get in the way. But I've got no excuse. I really did enjoy the first game. It's rare that I've played a sort of management game that gives you such a sense of approaching doom and panic in the way that the end of Frostpunk did. Wow. So much stuff. Yeah, Frostpunk 2 Collector's Edition Shadow Box. We've got all kinds of stuff with that. More gizzards and collectibles. I rarely buy a deluxe edition of a game. We'll just get the basic standard edition and then just play the game. But we've got a Frostpunk 2 postcard set, stickers. Instructions there for activating the deluxe version on Steam. We've got, oh, that's enough. Patch. Yeah, so on. Patch there. That's a USB cable. Huh. It comes with screws and all plugs, I think. Yes. Yeah, the actual interior box front. You don't throw it away. Actually got holes on the back so you can mount it on the wall. And that'll be what the screws are for. And then the last thing in here is a Frostpunk 2 keychain. But that's not all. I have to admit, I wasn't actually expecting a copy of the game. Great being a YouTuber. Well, there's more in here. Oh, you've got to be kidding. Okay, right at the bottom, buried underneath all of the sawdust in the box, is a Logitech G309 wireless mouse. I have literally just bought a new mouse, a Corsair. I can't remember the exact model, but it's the one with like 12 thumb buttons for playing MMOs. I'm trying to relearn how to play things like World of Warcraft with that. But it's nice to have a backup. So, yeah, wow. 11-bit Studios. I still have no idea what that is. It's somehow the Alters related. I haven't got a clue. Anybody who has any idea, please feel free to let me know in the comments. It looks like the sort of thing that you might... Well, I was thinking maybe... No, I've got no idea. I haven't got a clue. None whatsoever. It does make a very convincing cat scaring noise when it falls out of the packet and hits the table. So, yeah, 11-bit Studios, that's an amazing kit. And saved me a ton of money buying the deluxe edition of the game itself. Fantastic. And now, I suppose, on with the rest of Mingles but Jingles.
But first, I figured out what the Shadowbox edition of Frostpunk 2 actually is, because the entire front of the box is, well, this. It's a shadow box. I didn't even know what a shadow box was. And that's what the USB power cable was for. Although you can also pop 3 batteries in there and that works too. Doesn't draw a huge amount of power. And of course you can mount this on the wall or just stick it on a shelf somewhere. I've got space on a shelf in the man cave that I can occupy. Probably right next to my Star Wars Blastech E11 Stormtrooper Blaster Carbine. Gratuitous pussycat shots, by the way, included at no extra charge. Akazuki was very, very curious. Look at that tail. So much floof. Yeah. So, well, yeah, again, thanks very much to 11-Bit Studios. This was entirely unexpected. So what have I been getting up to this week? Well, a couple of things. I completed Star Wars Outlaws, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I honestly didn't think it was that bad. I mean, there are certainly bad things about it. It is by no means a great game. Some of the stealth sections are a bit forced. Later on, once you get your blaster fully upgraded, combat becomes kind of trivial, and the takedown animations are never going to be anything other than ridiculous. But I really enjoyed it. They've managed to nail the look and feel of classic era Star Wars. And while the main character, Kay Vess, is not particularly likeable at the start of the game, she really does grow on you. She does have a bit of a character arc. And I can definitely understand what everybody was saying when they said it didn't feel like a Ubisoft game. And I know that's not great praise. But, I mean, you know, Ubisoft open world adventure game. I don't think Ubisoft have done anything original with that basic format in the last 10 years. And no, just setting it in a different era doesn't count as something original. But it just doesn't feel like one of those typical Ubisoft games by numbers. I've always said you can tell you're playing one of those Ubisoft games that have had zero effort put into it when you're just basically doing stuff for the sake of doing it. Anything aside from the main story quests is literally just there to keep you occupied. It's make work stuff. You still end up doing it because there's something, you know, kind of hypnotic about watching the number go up, if you know what I mean. But you're not doing it because you want to. You're doing it because it's there and it's something to do. A kind of feeling that was conspicuously absent in Guerrilla Games' Horizon Forbidden West and the first game in the series, Horizon Zero Dawn, where all of the side quests and the collection things and stuff, because they're kind of, you know, like, I mean, they're open world games, they're all very similar. But in Guerrilla Games, you did it because it was interesting, because there was a point. Even the side quests had a story value assigned to it that made it something to do for reasons other than just because it was there, and it made the numbers go up a little bit. And Star Wars Outlaws has that as well. However, I will say one thing. When I finished Horizon Forbidden West, I played the DLC. And the DLC is really, really good. It's got the best, I mean, I don't want to spoil it here for anybody who hasn't played it, but it's got the single best end-game boss fight in any game I have ever played. The one thing I didn't like about the Burning Shoals DLC for Horizon Forbidden West was the companion character. She's clearly a character that you're supposed to like because there's a romance option available for her at the end of the game. But she just pressed all of the wrong buttons for me. Her attitude, she was like, you know when you come across, it's either a companion character or just a regular non-player character in a story-based game, and they clearly see themselves as competition for your character. They can do everything that you can do. They just think they can do it better. And they're constantly measuring themselves against you, and they're constantly coming out with these snide little put-downs every time you outperform them. You know the sort of thing I mean. I mean, clearly she's supposed to be witty and charming, but I just was not getting that vibe from her. All she was doing was winding me up and pissing me off. I won't go so far as to say that she ruined the Burning Shoals DLC for me. And honestly, this is probably an entirely subjective opinion. I mean, you might end up playing it and think that she was great, and she's not going to wind you up the way she did me. But I would have been very happy to have played the whole thing without that character in it. However, having said that, as soon as I finished the Burning Shoals DLC for Horizon Forbidden West, I went straight back in and started a new game plus from my last save and played through the entire game again and the DLC in a new game plus. Gaining new skills, finishing off little bits and pieces that I never got around to finishing the first time around, finding new things that I didn't discover the first time around. And I totally enjoyed it. It really is a phenomenally good game. It absolutely stands up to another replay. That's not something I can say about Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, I've completed it, I enjoyed it, I'm glad I played it, but I'm not in any rush to do a replay. It's good, but it's not that good. I'll tell you what is really good though. Space Marine 2, but holy crap, it's tough. I mean, I talked about this in last week's episode of Mingles with Jingles, saying that, I mean, this is... it's kind of like Alien Isolation. It's one of those games that I think is amazing, but I know I'm never going to play. Alien Isolation because it scares the bejesus out of me. And Space Marine 2 because of just how tough it was. And nobody wants to see me play the thing on the easiest possible difficulty setting. Well, turns out I was wrong. There are a whole bunch of you out there who would be entirely happy watching me fumble my way through Space Marine 2 on the easiest possible difficulty setting. So I've been playing Space Marine 2, and it is really good. And it does a couple of innovative things as well. Like, for example, when you're playing through the campaign, and I'm going to try to keep this... well, I'm not going to try. I am absolutely going to keep this spoiler-free. But I was curious as to how the co-op mode would work and how it would stack up against the single-player campaign. And they've done something really clever with it, because when you're progressing through the single-player campaign, there are other squads of Marines who get assigned to do like backup missions to help support the mission that you're doing. And you can play those missions in co-op afterwards. It's like the kind of director's cut version, the behind-the-scenes version of the main campaign. So that's really cool. But the other thing that I noted about Space Marine 2 is even on the easiest possible difficulty setting, holy crap, that thing is tough. Yeah. And I don't think it's just me being crap. I mean, it is, but it's not just me being crap. It is an extremely unforgiving game. There are certain choke points, I think you could call them, within the campaign story where you come across a mission objective that is brutally hard to complete. I think it might mostly be because your AI teammates, your fellow brother Marines, are, well, they're as dumb as a box of rocks, basically. They're not very good at following objectives. I suspect that played in co-op, the mission that I'm thinking of, I mean, it'd still be tough, but it wouldn't be that bad, because you'd be playing with other people who understand what the objectives are and how to get them completed. But playing solo? Yeah, not so much. Again, no spoilers, but the one I'm thinking of here happened quite early on. Wow. I spent an entire day trying to get past it. And even when I'd figured out, what I say, even when I'd figured out, when I'd Googled it to find out the best way of completing this particular mission, even knowing what it was that I was supposed to do and doing it, I still, on the easiest difficulty setting, barely managed to struggle through it. I mean, this game is unforgiving. And that's a good thing. But if you're, old and crap like me, you don't have the reflexes of a rattlesnake on crack anymore, you might want to give Space Marine 2 a miss. It's a hard game. Or just don't bother with a single-player campaign and just play the game in co-op mode, which is absolutely 100% a perfectly viable way of playing the game. And it's probably going to be the long-term way that most people end up playing it, because the campaign isn't particularly long. And most people are either going to end up playing it in co-op or PvP anyway. So, yeah, there's that. Also, you probably noticed, if you were paying attention, that I published a bonus video yesterday on Sunday. Sea Power, Naval Combat and the Missile Age. So this has been developed by Triassic Games and published by Microprose. Yes, that Microprose. Wow. This is kind of like... do you remember the Cold Waters video series? Which was all about, submarine warfare in the Cold War. Imagine that, but it's not just submarines. It's surface ships, and it's aircraft, and it's helicopters, and it's the whole naval combat thing. Well, you don't have to imagine it. You can just watch yesterday's video. It does a far better job of explaining it than I can in this few minutes in Mingles with Jingles. But a lot of people commented that what it reminded them of, well, there was a couple of things. Jane's Fleet Command, a game that I never actually played, but I can definitely see the comparisons, except Jane's Fleet Command with, you know, fancy, modern 3D graphics. But if you were a gamer of a certain age, and a couple of you were, because they commented that it reminded them of a game called Harpoon by 360 Software. And yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of the first time I saw Sea Power. Harpoon, but with 3D graphics. Harpoon was such a good game, and so far ahead of its time. I mean, it looked like you were playing a spreadsheet. Which is, you know, unfair, but this was a 90s title. But the attention to detail and the level of accuracy that they had with regards to all of the various different NATO and Warsaw Pact military units was off the charts. I'm pretty sure they got most of their information from publications like Jane's Fighting Ships and things like that, but I can remember playing Harpoon on board, I think it was HMS Coventry, a Type 22 frigate. The Chief Stoker let me use his office. His guys would use my computer and printer to do the logistics reports, and in return, outside of working hours, I could use his office as a gaming room. Set up my Commodore Amiga 500 in there, and later my Commodore Amiga 1200, and I would play Harpoon. And I can remember one particular occasion, one of the petty officer radar plotters was walking by and he saw, and what was on the screen looked kind of like a radar plot. And he was like, "Oh, that looks interesting." He came in and he was like, "Wow, this is incredible." He said, "Can you pull up a Type 22 frigate on there and have a look at that?" I said, "Yep, certainly can." Pulled up a Type 22 frigate and he said, "Can you have a look at the sensor information?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem, I can do that." And then he took a look at the radar and the various different sensors on the Type 22 frigate modelled in-game. And he was amazed because it was all 100% accurate. It's like, holy shit, that's classified. How do they know this? Well, Jane's Fighting Ships, I presume. But yeah, Sea Power is like that. It's that kind of level of detail and accuracy. Except, it doesn't look like you're playing a spreadsheet. So that's definitely something that I am very much looking forward to. I mean, I've had access to a developer's build of it for the last month or so. And it's coming out in early access in November. So you'll all be able to get your hands on it. Finally, some rather sad news. There's one lesser known games publisher that I have grown particularly fond of because they've published some of the best games I've ever played. Has anybody heard of Annapurna Interactive? I don't know if you remember a game I covered years back. I think it came out in 2017. What Remains of Edith Finch. One of the best story-based games I have ever played. Published by Annapurna Interactive. They also did The Outer Wilds, and more recently, 2022's Stray. Did a video series on that, where you're a little ginger cat lost in a dystopian future city populated by robots where all the humans have died out. Great game. They were also developing a Blade Runner game, Blade Runner 2033, which was shaping up to be pretty good. I mean, but we'll never know because, well, as of about 2 weeks ago, Annapurna Interactive have basically imploded. The entire staff have all submitted their resignations. As for why, it's looking like their parent company, Annapurna Pictures, well, basically trying to screw them all over. The short version is that after publishing a whole bunch of successful games, like, the aforementioned Stray, What Remains of Edith Finch, and, what was the other one? Oh yeah, The Outer Wilds, as well as a whole host of other games, they wanted to start basically developing their own stuff and started work on Blade Runner 2033. And the staff at Annapurna Interactive had been in negotiations with the CEO of their parent company, Annapurna Pictures, and it had been agreed that as well as continuing to publish games, Annapurna Interactive would also now become an independent games developer, doing their own stuff, hence the announcement that they were starting development on Blade Runner 2033. Annapurna Pictures, the parent company, as a media conglomerate, would retain the rights to develop any television or movie spin-offs of any of the properties published or developed by Annapurna Interactive. For example, they've already announced that they're going to start work on a 3D animated movie version of the game Stray. And obviously, with Annapurna Interactive developing the Blade Runner 2033 game, there was plenty of opportunity there for Annapurna Pictures to churn out the television spin-off of that. And of course, it would all work the other way too, with the newly independent Annapurna Interactive having the option to develop games versions of any of the movie and television licenses that Annapurna Pictures had also picked up. So everybody's happy, right? Yeah, not so much. It turns out that behind the scenes, without telling anybody at Annapurna Interactive, the CEO of Annapurna Pictures had hired somebody to start and lead a games and interactive division within Annapurna Pictures, which had been spearheaded by their deal with Remedy Entertainment. Everybody knows Remedy, yeah, the creators of Control and Alan Wake. And they were going to fund development of Control 2, along with getting the television and film rights to both Control and Alan Wake. And internally, this new games division within Annapurna Pictures would become their division for AAA games, while Annapurna Interactive would just remain focused on indie games. Nobody bothered to tell Annapurna Interactive any of these details. So when Remedy publicly announced its deal with Annapurna Pictures, Annapurna Interactive staff were very, very confused and tried to approach their parent company's CEO about, hang on a minute, what happened to the deal that we had? And the CEO of the parent company responded to these inquiries by 1, completely ignoring them, and 2, immediately starting to take more control over Annapurna Interactive, which is the point where the entire staff of Annapurna Interactive just submitted their resignations. And honestly, who can blame them? And yeah, so much for Blade Runner 2033. And on that bombshell, that's it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. Hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe it's given you something to talk about in the comments. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.